You're good to go.
All right, great. Looks like we're missing Ryan. I know that he's homesick.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4 teachers. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think that's everybody then. Nicole, do you want us to introduce ourselves first from the teacher side? Because probably you know the admin.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So Cindy, do you want to introduce yourself first? Oh, sorry, you're muted.
Okay, now I'm ready to go. I'm Cindy Hutchison, and I teach PE and adapted PE at Harding Middle School. And I think this is my 4th year on the committee, but I'm not sure.
At least 4.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Thanks. What about Carla?
Hi, everyone. Carla Riley. I am living in the virtual world this year, teaching 4th grade. And I've been on teacher quality since it started. I don't know when that was or how long ago that was, but I've been here.
Pat, do you want to introduce yourself? Oh, we can't hear you, Pat. I'll introduce Pat. Pat's a teacher, 5th grade teacher at Erskine, and he's been on the teacher quality for a while as well. And for some reason, his volume's not working. Gail, what about you?
Gail Rieger, I teach at Metro High School. I subbed once or twice on this committee, but this is my first time on it.
Thank you. All right, Nicole, now you can introduce yourself to all of us.
All right, do we want to start with Linda?
Sure. Linda Rasek, principal at Harding.
Linda, how long have you been on TQ?
You know, I think this is my 3rd year.
Thank you. Nick.
Well, good afternoon. Nick Duffy, principal at Jackson. This is my 2nd year on TQ.
Thank you. Kent.
Afternoon, everybody. Kent Ryan, Elementary Director of Culture Climate Transformation. It's my 2nd year on this committee as a district office employee, and I think my 3rd or 4th year overall.
You couldn't get away, could you?
It's just too much fun. So do you want me to go now, Tanya?
Yes, introduce yourself.
All right. So I'll go a little longer. Nice to meet some of you for the first time. I'm sure you've seen some emails. Excited to be here. I'm not new to TQ, of course, but I'm new to your TQ committee. So Tanya and I have had quite a few conversations, met some today as well, just talking about what has happened in the past, budgets and all those sorts of things. So was superintendent at Ottumwa for the past 4 years. And before that was superintendent at West Marshall. Was on both TQ committees in both of those locations. Also, before that was at Southeast Polk as a middle school principal and also served as a TQ representative while there. So have some experience, hopefully a lens to bring of how people have done things. I think really big and really important is that this committee meets as regularly as needed to be and has oversight of the funds being expended. So everybody's on the same page of where those TQ funds are going and what that budget looks like. So thank you guys for all being here tonight. I know it's a late meeting, but Justin had multiple ones to try to record. So appreciate you spending your time with us here for the next hour going through TQ committee stuff.
Thanks, Nicole. So the first thing, and this is usually the first thing we always do, which is to just review the budget. And were you able to get the email that I sent? And can you look at that on your own end, or did you print it off so you could see it, or do you need us to share the screen with you?
I'm good on my end.
Okay. I was kind of hoping that you guys might all be good that way because I like to see your faces. So hopefully that works for you. So looking at the TQ budget, the page that has all the Excel spreadsheet, you can see that the final expenses at the top for TQ in 2018-19 is listed. And then at the very bottom of that one is the 217,093.21 was the carryover from that year. And then that went into the final expenses on the right-hand side for 1920. And so if you see that, we had the carryover of 217,000 and then the budget of 1,161,000. So you can kind of see where we spent our money from last year. And we've had these conversations several times with many of you that when you look down through that, we have subs, coach advisors, which is at mentors, the temporary assignments, the 191st day pay and the 191st day benefits. And it's listed out in the way those monies come out of our budget. So whatever that number is for that budget amount, it's not specifically to the areas that we take the money from. So for instance, we might have teachers who are part-time being paid full-time for PL days. And so then that comes out of the temporary assignment, and then it also comes out of benefits for that part. Most of that, well, all of the 191st day is to pay teachers for that 191st day. And then when you go down a little bit further, there's purchase of instructional services. We believe that part of that may be ASCD, but we're not exactly sure on that one. And then down the travel is the travel that was from HRS the year before that we still were finishing paying. If you remember our conversations last year, you remember that we talked about how our budget was really tight. And so I know I was surprised to see the carryover at the bottom when I saw this budget the first time. But you'll also remember that we did not do HRS conference this summer because of everything going on. So that did give us a little bit of flexibility and a little more carryover than we're used to because that conference didn't happen. So looking at the bottom of that budget sheet, then you can see that we have our carryover of 327,000 with our new allocation, which gives us a 1.5 million for the budget. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you guys kind of look at this a little bit and then ask questions because I don't want to continue to repeat pieces that you know from the times that we've gone through it. But if you feel like it's better for me to go through that line by line, I can do that as well. So let me know what you guys think. A couple things. So, yeah, go ahead, Pat.
Hey, I just wanted to see if my volume was working now.
It is working. Did you have to call in on your phone?
No, I just switched to my personal laptop.
Okay,
So,
good. Good.
I thought maybe you purposefully muted me from the meeting. So
No.
I'm sure many people, I see Nicole laughing at that one, which I figured many people probably, and she'll get to know me. She'll be like, oh yeah.
I was going to say Nicole's laughing because she doesn't know you yet.
Yeah, she's like, luckily. Wait till she does.
You know what? I am not tech savvy to know how to be able to do that, Pat. So, but I'm glad you made it in so we can hear your voices and your questions. So,
Excellent.
I can
one
mute
thing
Pat whenever you needed me to mute him. No problem whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
Of course, Schaefer's the one jumping in on that.
One of the things that Laura, well, first of all, Laura couldn't be here tonight. So, any questions that Nicole and I aren't able to answer, we will absolutely bring her in to email that out. But one of the things she did do that, which was helpful on here, is she color coded a couple things. So if you look in that box in the middle of the page where the green is, it says instructional purchases services for the 53,000. And that, if you look below, is the Marzano. So,
Whoa.
Carla, is that your kids?
Sorry, I'm trying to mute myself.
There you go. It's okay. So the training, the NASOT training was 12,800, and then the HRS webinars and level 1 certifications is the 40,000. So that together equals that 53, which is already an expense that's already been paid. And then if you look under the set asides part where it says 138, that is the same agreements for the upcoming year. So the 1280 for the new teachers, which should have done it at the beginning of the year, but I think now they're doing it at the end of the year. And then the 125 for the HRS webinars and the level 1, probably level 2 certifications that'll be happening coming up. And then the red amount is the 65,000 and 36,000. And then below you see the 3-year contract of 101,000. And that is the ASCD agreement that we did talk a little bit about last year, and that Nicole is actually really understands now because we've been asking lots of questions about that one. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, Nicole, since you do know a little more about it, and then maybe remind folks about it.
So in February, apparently this group decided to do a 3-year contract with ASCD, and it's broken down into 2 components. And the first component is the digital licenses for teachers at certain schools. And that's in the allotment of 36,000 for year 1. The second piece was initially that 6,500 a day for 10 days, but due to conversations of the committee and needs of moving to standards-based grading at that point of time in February as the plan of getting the rest of the schools this year. My understanding was that went up to 110,500. So actually on this ASCD 3-year period 1 budget only, you probably want to cross off, or I'll have Laura resend this. Instead of that 101,000, it would be 146,500 based on the current approved contract. So that will go through June, and then we start on our second year. In our second year, we also have those digital subscriptions, and then we also have workshops for 6,500 for 10 days for that 65,000. And in the third year, it would be digital licenses for all 34 schools. It sounds like that's optional based on if the digital licenses are working for us, which that's a large sum of money. So I do think we'll have to collect some data and have some conversations of whether that's beneficial and a good use of funds or not, or probably try to remove that from the contract, which we should be able to. And then we also have that 10 days again of professional learning services for that allotment of 65,000 that third year. So currently that's the contract that we have with ASCD. I've been asking some explicit questions about what they're providing because some of their numbers were different, but I think those numbers based on some communication back and forth today are pretty solid. For the future, we do have a termination clause, again, for if any reason that we believe is not meeting our needs, that we could work with them and end something or add something or whatever we would need to do. That 6,500, so they've given us now, I guess, another point because they're not traveling. That included travel and expenses. So it came out to $800 an hour. Now they're giving us 10 hours per day, which I do think is important to know. It's still $650 an hour, but it's better than the $800 that it was. but I think we need to make sure we're using that time wisely for the amount of money that is costing us.
And I know that this is probably backwards for you guys, but this is what I saw that kind of reminded me of our conversation last year. It was something that Rod and I don't remember if it was Ryan or who shared it with us, but it had the 3 days or the 3 years on it. And then it kind of talked about the amounts. And so that was the conversation we had last year with this. And I think when it was brought up, it was, we were talking about how we had already finished the Marzano training, the NASOT training for everyone. And we were just doing the new teachers. So we did not have that expense anymore. And so we were picking up this expense for the standards-based grading. But trying to kind of get Nicole on board with what we were talking about. And I guess also the timing of us deciding to do that right before the COVID shutdown. And now so many months of teachers not really being able to use that. I think we did do one of the trainings. I can't remember if it was at the end of the school year or beginning of the school year. We did something that was standards-based grading. So we've done a little bit, but not nearly as much as we were hoping or planning to do. So, so then one other thing I just want to talk about on that budget, that the part in the middle that is kind of outlined, it shows the unallocated funding, which is that carryover, the 327,000 there. So that would be the amount that we need to kind of decide what we want to do with. There are a few things in that final box that says for consideration for the budget. But that's kind of where we're at with that. Oh, I know. I guess the other thing I wanted to mention is in the past, we have given 30% of the TQ budget to Iowa Core, which last year they stopped separating that out. And so we as a committee decided to do that. We decided to continue doing that. At this point, I don't know that we even have 30% of our budget to pass on to teaching and learning. So that's kind of another conversation that we need to have as far as, do we say that we want to give them a certain amount? Last year, I was looking at my old budget. I think last year we gave them like 30 or 300,000 maybe. Iowa Core, 348,000 is what we gave them last year, which was 30% of the new money. So I don't know if we want to, at this point, budget, if we want to budget 300,000, if we want to budget 250,000. I'm not sure. I know one of the things Nicole said early on was her understanding of TQ and working through teacher quality in lots of different districts is that it really is our job to watch what that money's spent on and how it's spent, just to be sure that it's done in the right way and for the best benefit of the district. And so no matter what money we give to teaching and learning, it would continue to be, it would be something where we had a little bit more oversight of that, which we haven't in the past.
So Tanya, a lot of that, when you were saying that, a lot of that is used for, is that for curriculum work and the additional work? I mean, and based on what I see in our building, that has been very valuable time that has been spent. I think the teachers have appreciated that, and I think it's helped move us forward as a district to say that we've got viable curriculum and teachers know what they're teaching. So I don't know an amount that we want to give, but I think the money has been well spent.
Yep. And I think I hope that it didn't sound like I didn't think we needed to spend it. I just think we just need to know what it's being spent on. So I agree. I think they're so busy doing curriculum work and, you know, trying to bring teachers in for their teacher voice when they can. And so we would just have a little bit more knowledge of what that's being spent on, what curriculum, what that sort of thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Tanya, is that money used for, like, when people get together in the summer to work on curriculum?
Yes.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Yes. Yes. And I believe sometimes, well, in the past, they would do it during the day if there were subs available. So sometimes it would do it during the school year.
Are teachers paid a flat rate for that, or is it a per diem?
It's a per diem. Yeah, per diem in the summer and then sub rate during the year. So that's exactly where it gets a little crazy. And you know, it's all volunteer. So, you know, people volunteer to do that and to help. And it's the people who have the understanding or have done it in the past, because they have that knowledge, they continue to do it, which makes absolute sense. We just want to be sure that everyone has that opportunity if they need it, or if they have something to share with that. So, Gail.
Well, I've worked on it in the past, but I think it would be good now because, you know, so much is changing with the digital and the virtual and, you know, getting our classrooms so they can be online and in person. So I think it's helpful to have that money for teachers to develop things for different topics or subjects.
Yep. So it sounds like what I'm hearing is that everyone thinks we still need it, obviously. But we also, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not sure we have enough that we can give them that full amount at this point. So do we want to look at budgeting maybe 300,000 then and kind of see what that does to the budget? Or do we want to go 250 and then see what that does to the budget?
And I guess the other question here is the group planning on sending teachers to the Hrs Conference? Again, depending on what happens with the pandemic and COVID and all of that. But I think that was planned by this group last year to put money in to support that, which is why we have money to carry over. So I think that's something to think about too. I also think we can get some more definite numbers on a few of these things so we actually know how much is there that we have to be able to allocate.
Correct.
How much it would take, like in the past, each group, if they did curriculum work in the summer or throughout the year, because I would hate to say we're going to allow this much, but then some groups can't do their curriculum work, you know, or whatever, and we don't have enough money, or
Right.
Or if we need to set guidelines, you know, ahead of time so that we can stay within the budget. But it's hard to do if we don't know, you know, especially with it being on per diem, how much it takes for each area and that type of thing.
Right. We don't know exactly what that is, but that's something that we haven't asked in the past because the Iowa Core and the curriculum work has been done separately of TQ. But I absolutely think that that's something we could, at our next meeting, have John Rice or someone come in and just share, this is what the plan is for curriculum work this year. And you're right, we wouldn't be able to get a exact amount on that because it depends on who comes to help and per diem things that way. But we could absolutely get a guesstimate of what it was, you know, average out what that per diem is.
I think you're right, though. I think a lot of times it's the same people that do it year after year. And if we even just kind of went on those people and had a rough estimate, you know, because it's, like I said, it's awful hard to know how much to allocate unless we know what we're looking at.
So I think another piece is it'd be nice for this group to know. So teaching and learning also supports through the funds they have some of that work. So what's the breakdown of what TQ has supported and what's the breakdown of what teaching and learning has supported? For example, right now we're asking feedback of remote teachers. So based on what they tell us, we may be getting subs to cover, a day a month, a half day a month, a day a quarter, whatever that looks like for them to continue. Because we thought who better than the remote teachers to be able to put some of those remote things they've worked on into the units of study right now. But they need time to do that. So I don't know if they're going to want time, extra time, which it sounds like they're already, super busy. So I don't know if they're going to want to do it outside of the contract day. So then it's per diem rate, or if they're going to want to say, hey, we would really like to collaborate and spend some time on get us subs for the day once a month or whatever that looks like. We'll get feedback on that, but that will also determine the cost, of what that looks like for that work.
Are there any other areas that people have questions about? That's because I explained it so well. So I think what we'll do is we will definitely either have John Rice come or at least share some information from that group for next time. We will figure out a guesstimate. Well, let's talk about the HRS for a second. So HRS Conference, we're assuming at this point they will have one this summer. Things will be better and it will be in person. We will just assume at this point. So is that something as a committee that we feel is still important to pay with TQ money and let those that haven't had an opportunity to go to that have an opportunity?
Tanya, I'm going to jump in here for a minute.
Yeah.
There will not be an HRS Summit the way that we've experienced it in the past.
Thank you for that information.
They are going in a new direction, heavy on what they're calling portable events, which others of us would call virtual events. That hope to replicate some of that, but they're also kind of differentiating their support for schools in these major events where they try to take care of everybody at every level at the big summit in Denver or in Austin. Now they're looking at kind of separating those out, and the big summit in the summer is going to be for schools that are just getting started. And then there will be other workshops and conferences for schools that are at different points in their journey at the different HRS levels. And there isn't a summer one scheduled for anyone beyond level one.
So I'm getting invitations, Kent, but maybe that's because I haven't been to a training. So I've been getting them even at my house about the summer summits.
July.
So is that because I'm new and haven't ever gone?
Could be, and it could be that they'll still sell us. They'll still take our money. But the one I have for July 15th is for schools that are just beginning their journey with high reliability schools. I'll do a little bit more digging just to make sure accurate, but that also reflects a conversation that we had with our Marzano folks in the winter as well, like last February, that they were looking at going away from that major summer summit format.
Okay. So that might answer that question. Are you able to tell, like, as far as cost wise on the virtual events? I'm assuming they would be much less because we wouldn't need to fly or rent a bus or whatever we did in the past.
Let me look here a little bit.
Well, do you mind if we
come back? Yeah,
talking?
Keep on going. Yeah, keep on going, and I'll come back.
So I guess that would be something that we may be able to save some funds on, because I know there are buildings that haven't sent anyone, so they will definitely need some training, but it just will be less than attending a full summit. So I guess if everyone's okay with that, we will kind of adjust that that budget and maybe come with something that's a little bit more specific for most of the money, and then let you decide what we want to switch money pockets, money buckets from that. Does that sound okay with all of you? If it doesn't, just say something now.
I would definitely want to talk and see what happens with the HRS Summit and the plan, because we have some buildings that haven't, like you said, sent anyone. So if this is something the district's vested in, I just want to make sure we provide people with opportunities, whatever that is, or at least discuss that of this group. And it could be much cheaper and it could be virtual. I think the experience would be very different, but.
Yeah. Excellent. So I'm gonna jump down, and actually, let's jump down to the ASCD subscriptions, because that's kind of something under the budgets as well. Do you want to discuss that, Nicole?
I think you have a better understanding of this than what I even do, Tanya.
Well, I was just gonna have you say like why you what the question of it was.
Okay, I can definitely say why I was questioning things. So we were getting subscriptions for certain people and certain buildings, and all of a sudden we were getting ones for multiple people from buildings. So I was just asking for clarity of who we were getting subscriptions for and what they were utilized for, when I found out that there's some definite inconsistencies in what we provide for people, which is why I was questioning things, just trying to based on approvals and so forth. So we've kind of put a hold on that for, again, the reason of, we didn't think a building would need 5 subscriptions to the same thing, and some buildings not have any. So I thought that's why we should probably have this conversation of, if it's a good thing that our people are using, I think that's great, but maybe instead of purchasing 5 for one building and 0 for one, we should come up with some consistent type of metric for what we utilize across the board.
Yep. And I'm going to try to answer this, Carla, but I believe you might have a better understanding of it. We, a few years ago, used to do something that was more of a TQ request. And one of the TQ requests was that our instructional coaches received the ASCD membership that included the magazines or whatever that come with them. And so I believe that that's where it started, and then probably has been renewed each year since then. But now that we have people that have moved buildings and have moved to different possibly jobs, then that could be where that has changed. And with new people starting up as coaches, they wouldn't be included in that either. So Carla, does that make sense to you? Are you here now? Oh, we can't hear you though. Okay, she says yes. So yeah, so one thing Carla didn't share with you is that Carla actually did my job for a while. And so when she was doing that job, I think it was one of the things that was coming through, or maybe it was the year after that. But so what do you guys think would be a best way to solve that? Or Carla, if you can type in the chat, or if you are able to talk.
I think I got it. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I'm single mom and at dance tonight. Yes, Tanya, you're right. We did start the ASCD subscription for coaches because of the limited amount of professional development we were able to provide for coaches. And that started when we just really had, I can't remember if that's just when we had elementary coaches. So then when we moved up to secondary, of course, that added a whole bunch more. And that's why there were several in some buildings, when elementary only had 1 in each building. So that's kind of where that kind of trickled from.
So now there's some coaches, just so I'm understanding, based on only my knowledge and digging, that have that paid for, and others that don't. And we have I mean, for the coaches wise, and some buildings that have coaches that have it there and others that don't. And then we have some administrators that are members paying for their own to get it and some that are not, is what I'm finding.
Mhm. So I think what happened is like renewal dates have come up and some coaches didn't want to be without, so then they would purchase their own. And so then when the district went to renew, they already had theirs renewed. So because there always seemed to be a lapse in when the renewal happened, some coaches went ahead and purchased it for themselves.
Perfect. Thanks, Carla. And we would like to see the dance that's happening. So I guess from a conversation with where we are with our budget and things right now, do we want to look at what that amount is, or do we want to look at if it's better to just have it per building, have those subscriptions at the building level, so then it doesn't matter who the person is that's coming in? I don't know what do you guys think that are in the buildings? I mean, it's probably just the coaches that are using those, I would assume, I guess, but.
I guess I'm curious what the value is to the coaches if they see it as a valuable tool. Certainly I don't want to remove that if they're using the resources from ASCD, but that's a lot of money to put toward something if it's not going to be utilized. And I mean, if we're talking about, the weight of providing a resource to our people versus maybe pulling in more people to help with curriculum design within our system to strengthen our system, I think we could use funds better if we're trying to slice that pie up differently. So I would be curious to hear what other people say, but I think maybe valuable. Let's discuss it.
We just lost you at the end there, Nick.
I would agree with what Nick says. I mean, I think because I've always purchased for our building at Harding for the teachers that want it. I mean, I have a copy and then I get the books, and then anyone who's interested in the books, I pass the books along to those who are who are interested, or if we're going to do a book study and we want to use one of the books, we use that kind of as a guide. So I would rather see it taken out of TQ and put back either into the building, or find out how many people are really utilizing the resource before we allocate money.
Carla, do you happen to know, since you worked with some of those coaches, if how valuable it was for them, or which ones use it and which one don't, or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. I will say there were several months we would use it as a piece of our professional learning and our monthly time together. 1 month there was one that was all about coaching, and it was great that everyone had that. Another month it was maybe we hit one piece out of it, whereas maybe I guess I gotta watch the copyright rules, but maybe we could have just shared the article. So I wouldn't, not that I want to take anything away from anyone, but I would say that maybe just having that one resource isn't, if we could put the funds other places maybe to help provide more than just that one. If there's if there was a good article, we could share with everyone. And again, I'd have to look at the copyright rules for that, but perhaps everyone having their own subscription isn't the most beneficial. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the most quality use of our money.
Yeah. I do think I do think it's nice for the building to have an opportunity to have that resource for everyone, for the coach, for the leadership team, but also for teachers. And I don't know, maybe principals on the call know that better as far as when you've used things for your building, the copyright laws. Can you copy an article out of those, or how? I know it's a certain percentage. It's been a long time since I had that class.
I think to be safe, let's look that up.
Yeah. Is no one wants to just set it?
No, let's look that up and dig into that.
Okay.
I'll try to answer that, I guess. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know it either. I was going to say though.
I was like, great.
I would appreciate, I do think though, it would be more beneficial to have it at the building level because our coaches are, I mean, my gosh, I've been in this district, I don't know how, almost 20 years. And I've had so many coaches that have either moved on, have left. And so I think that that's the hard thing, that there's coaches then that are going back into the classroom. And if they're the ones who have the total access to the subscription, then I think that's where it becomes tricky. So, or I think if we're giving it to the coaches, then obviously there has to be a little bit better job of tracking where those coaches are.
Okay, awesome. We'll get some more information on that and check what those subscriptions look like and what, I guess. And again, I don't know, did you put a stop on those, Nicole, to pause or have okay. So we would have the ability to do that at this point too. So, all right. So Kent, I know that you've been looking for some things, but if you are ready, I'll let you speak to that. Otherwise, I was going to bring up the White Privilege Symposium request.
Sure. So I've done a little bit more digging. It looks like there is an Hrs Summit. There's they're changing their focus a little bit. Like I said, the Hrs Summit is really going to be focused on schools that are just beginning their journey or have already begun their journey just a little bit. They're not too far into it, like some of our schools have become. There are 2-day conferences. One is in Lincoln on April 12th and 13th, and the other is in San Diego on April 28th and 29th. So both during the school year, both during the school week, and both would require at least one more day of travel on the front end or back on the front end of that to make that happen. So not real, doesn't fit real well with our current environment.
Yeah.
There are other conferences that are a little more focused on schools that are at level 2 and level 3, but they're very specific. And some of the things we already do, like one of the conferences in level 2 is focused on NASOT and learning about NASOT. Well, that doesn't help us at all.
Hopefully we have that one.
I did.
We've spent a lot of money. I hope we have that one.
Yeah. So I think we need to maybe have some conversations with our Marzano reps and see what kind of direction they're taking, and maybe they can identify based on where we have schools at different spots. We have schools that are beginning, and we have schools that are certified level 2, ready to think about level 3. So what can Marzano offer us that might be helpful for the schools at different spots?
That sounds great. Thanks for checking.
And because of my dedication to the school district, I would be willing to sign up for the San Diego one. If, just to throw
in
that
April,
out there, I will take one for the team. So
yeah, and I'm sure, Patrick, you're going to need a chaperone because So I'll volunteer to go along with you.
Okay, so now you got 2, Kent and Pat. Who's up next?
well, and I have never been, and Nicole has never been. So now you have 4.
Now it's a party.
Yep. Yeah. Whenever you hear San Diego, it's really hard to not go, ooh, interesting. I was going to say Lincoln, Nebraska. Isn't that a drive? Couldn't we just do the bus thing?
Well, it is where Toby's at. So give us a chance to go see Toby.
There you go. There you go. All right. Thank you so much, Kent, for that information.
Yeah.
And then can you speak to the White Privilege Symposium request?
Yes, I can. I'm going to put a little web link in our chat here real quick. So many of you remember the White Privilege Symposium that was held at Coe College a couple of years ago. Very well received, very impactful for a lot of people. So impactful that none of us can remember who paid for it. All of us, I was still at Van Buren at the time, so I wasn't in my current job, and all of us can remember that the district provided some funds to help people go to that conference that wanted to go. I can find no history of it in the Culture Climate Transformation budget. Neither can Heidi, our secretary. We can't find any mention of it. We've not been able to find, Tanya has no recollection of this being discussed by teacher quality. But we're hoping that we can figure out a way to help pay for some folks to attend this virtual conference. It's November 6th and 7th. It's a Friday night and a Saturday, so it does not impact learning time. It's $100 for people to attend the whole virtual conference. Probably the two most well-known speakers at this conference are Bettina Love, that if you've seen any of her TED Talks, you know how powerful those things are. And then Eddie Moore Jr., who wrote the book. I'm going to butcher the title, Nick, but it's for white women teaching black boys. And I just found out today, I didn't know this, he did all of his undergraduate and graduate work in Iowa.
Wow.
He's a Cornell graduate, a Loras graduate, and a University of Iowa graduate. Anyway, so that the whole conference is being sponsored this time by Des Moines Public Schools, West Des Moines Schools, and a host of others, including ARC out of Ames. And it, like I said, it's virtual, and we would love to find a way to fund some of our folks to attend this virtual conference.
Do you know if they're doing credit this year like they did the last time?
Ooh, I don't know the answer to that.
I just looked really quick at the link and I'm just curious because that was one of the things that we didn't know right away. And then when we did try to do it, then we had some people that had paid but wanted credit, and it was just kind of a crazy thing back and forth. But did you have an amount, or do you know how many we paid for last time out of the budget that we don't know where that money came from?
I don't have a clue. But you know, it is a Friday night and it's all day on a Saturday. My guess is that if we budgeted for 40 people to attend this conference, that would be pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
And again, I think numbers will probably be down because it's virtual, right? So I mean, sitting in a virtual conference all day long is going to be, even with the people who are speaking, it's still going to be hard.
Right. Well, and maybe because it's virtual, they wouldn't necessarily be able to do credit because they don't know what you're there for.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing anything on their registration page. I'm not seeing anything that indicates that they're offering that as an option.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Well, and it's interesting because I can't remember what the registration was, but I don't believe it was that high the last time. And it's virtual now, but they are big names. So.
Yeah, I think that speaks a lot to that. Ken Morris is one of the organizers.
Oh, maybe he knows where we got the money.
Yeah.
So we're really talking, you think maybe $4,000 because $100 for registration. You think 40 people would be fabulous if we got that many people to attend?
I think that would be amazing if we had 40 people that wanted to go.
Pretty fabulous, yeah.
Yeah. So then we can present it that way that teacher quality will pay for up to 40 people to attend this, and first serve.
Is there, again, since it's virtual, do we have something to make sure that they attend? Like, I mean, I could see us paying paying $100 for someone, and then all of a sudden Saturday morning is kind of early and maybe I'll just go to this one. I mean, I don't know.
I can think on that. I don't have a good idea right here off the top.
So just an idea. I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but people that go then share back within the building. So I know we can't guarantee that all 31 buildings would have somebody they could send, but I think if they do, it would probably guarantee that they'd be a part if they have to come back and share with their staff some of what they learned, or even an article, or, I mean, I don't think it has to be anything huge to scare people away, but I think that could also spread the learning that these people actually get from that experience. That would be really helpful for other people that cannot attend if possible. Just an idea. Doesn't mean you have to take that, but.
I think that's a great idea. We've talked about those kinds of things, even just for our normal professional learning, and that when we give, when we let folks use money, TQ money for events or classes or whatever, that they should have to have some learning when they come back. But I like the idea of then maybe focusing on one or two or whatever from each building so that every building can get something from it. I think if people know who's presenting, that they would be really interested in it if they're available. So I don't know how formal we want to be, but do you have like a proposal? Do you want to just put it out there for the 4,000 or 5,000 or something at this point, or?
I guess then that, let's formalize this a little bit. I would move that our committee support our district's attendance at this virtual conference by paying for up to 40 people to attend the virtual conference, which would be the sum of $4,000. And that those who participate would be expected to work with their building principals to share their learning back with the staff in some capacity that would be decided upon mutual between the attendee and the principal.
Wow, that is formal. Is there a
How about
second?
that?
Do we want to say something like, am I on?
You are?
Yep, you're on.
I am, okay. Do we want to say something like each building should have an opportunity to have one attendee or representative before we let multiples go from a building?
Yep. Now here's the tricky
That
part.
into that.
We pretty much have to the end of this week to get signed up for that conference, right? So we'll have to get this out tomorrow to folks. Because I don't, we don't know how many spots they have left at the conference. I assume it's unlimited, but
Yeah.
in materials it says slots are limited. I'm like, okay, I think that's
Yeah.
but
Limited to like thousands or?
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Cindy. And I think maybe since we have such a short time frame, maybe it's, we get who we get through this week, but then at the end of the week, we see how many of those unlimited spots they still have. And then we reach out to the buildings that doesn't have anybody yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I do wonder if there may be some teacher leaders or staff from the ELSC that would be interested, and then maybe they could go to they could do some training for some of the buildings that don't have someone attend.
Yep.
Great idea.
Okay.
Okay, so if there isn't any other conversation, I will call the vote. All in favor, give a thumbs up. Or say aye if you don't have your camera on. And it looks like it passes, except for I can't see Pat.
I vote yes to Kent's amazing, out-of-pocket, off-the-cuff presentation and proposal.
I know, it was amazing. Now the rest of you are going to be ready in case you bring something to TQ that I may put you on the spot. All right, so that motion carried. Thanks, Kent. I think that's a great idea, and hopefully some people will take advantage of that.
Thanks, everybody.
So one of the things that I had on the agenda was just to look at our professional learning plan for the school year. And I believe I would have normally asked Ryan to share a little bit more of that, and he's not here tonight. So if it's okay with you guys, we'll just skip that for tonight and we will hit that the next time, just as an update. So we since we're the teacher quality of professional learning, we should know what the plan is for everyone. So we'll just add that to our next agenda. And then the final item that we have is evaluations. At this time of the year, we generally check in with with HR and with our executive directors to just see if there's any buildings that are having any issues with the number of evaluations they have, or if they're, getting those, they know what they're supposed to be. HR shared the names and they know what they're supposed to be doing and things. In one of the things we wanted to discuss with you, or to at least let you guys know about, is that Nicole and Noreen and I have talked about evaluation this year, and how for some staff it could be kind of a stressful thing because they're doing something different than they have done ever in their life. And so in that conversation from my end, I've just said, is it okay for a staff member who is maybe teaching virtually to have the ability to push that off to next year when they're not teaching virtually, or whatever. So with Noreen said, she doesn't want to stress anyone out more than normal for evaluation year. And we've tried so hard to make evaluation be more of a professional learning type support piece. And really that may or may not feel like it's going to happen this year. So that being said, Nicole and I are going to meet on Thursday to kind of talk through how this works and how this looks. And hopefully there'll still be some people who feel like, oh, this is the same, I'm doing the same thing once I finally get in person, or, I'm already in person, maybe at the elementary. I have no problem with my principal coming in and observing me and, just being done with that. And then the ones that maybe feel a little bit more stressed about that, looking at those a little closer. Did I explain that okay, Nicole?
Yeah, I just want to make sure people know
kind of
that.
like this.
The hard piece is that some principals have a ton of evaluations already, and we still have to do first and second year teachers.
Yes.
So we want to put together the message where we totally understand and care that people would be stressed out about this, and give people some grace on those situations, but also have the principal use some professional judgment, have those conversations, and remember that the evaluation isn't a gotcha. It's a let's grow together, let's learn. It also would be a great year to showcase some of the new things some people have learned with remote instruction, even if they're in person. So I think it's about, how we sell that, what we tell people, and again, what our goal is. And I hope everybody's goal is our goal is to learn and grow together. But I want to make sure I'm just advocating on the principal end too. I think they're definitely willing to have those conversations and use professional judgment. But if, for example, they have 28 evaluations and everybody's like, I'd prefer not to do it this year, that would be virtually impossible for them the following year to be able to do that task. So this is all about meeting in the middle and again, letting people everybody's a professional and treating everybody as such, and letting people have conversations on what's best for them in their situations. I know that was wordy, but I had to say the whole principal piece too, otherwise we're going to bury some people.
And I appreciate that you mentioned the new teachers as well, that our first and second year teachers would absolutely still do their evaluation like they would normally.
Yep.
But and many of them will go on and do that third year because it's been such a crazy year. Now, if a teacher or if a principal feels like, you know what, this person's amazing, they don't need that third year, then that's fine. But I think our message out to our newest teachers is just don't worry, we're gonna get you through this, and it's okay to have that third year because you've had a year that's not a normal year. So that's all
Learning, right? All learning,
Yes.
even principals, ourselves.
Lots and lots of learning. So
If we're on our second year, can we get if we're on year 2 of the cycle, can we get evaluated this year? Can you switch that stuff around or not? I'm just asking.
I think if you wanted to be evaluated and switch places, talk to your principal. I don't want to say everybody in their building is being evaluated now. Hey, Pat wants to be evaluated too. I mean, I think you can have this.
Nicole, I was taping that. I just got that.
That's okay.
But no, I know, because I do know there's a lot of teachers that are stressed right now. They're very stressed about being evaluated. And, Tanya, you know me. I'm like, bring it. Let's do it.
yeah.
you know?
And I agree. I know that there would be teachers out there that would be fine with it. And so I think that's a great way to think out of the box. And
Yeah.
like if you and your, you and whoever says, I'll do it this year. I'm supposed to be up next year, but I'll do it this year, and vice versa. I think we could work with that.
Okay. I just wanted to see if that was even an option or, so.
We hadn't
And
even
Nicole,
thought
you-
about it, Pat.
Nicole, you can come evaluate me too. Why not?
You can come evaluate me too, Pat.
Hey, it's a date.
All right, guys. Awesome. We're almost to six. Oh, my computer says 6:30. So the only thing I was going to say is if there's anything that you can think of that we need to talk about or that you're wondering about, let me know right now or email me and I will put it on a future agenda for us to discuss. But considering we did this online and got through a lot of conversation, I thought we had a great first meeting.
Tanya, I just have one question. I should have
Yes.
asked at the beginning of the meeting.
No problem.
Supposed to be logging on, or punching into the time clock. I'm logged on.
Oh, no, if you did not need to punch into the time clock, I am just going to give your names to Laura and she will put your hours in. Thank you for that reminder. I will write that down. So, yep, all teacher members will get that additional hour. So, nope, I
Is
appreciate
that hour per diem or I'm just kidding.
Pat, I'm so glad that you're.
I know all of a sudden you guys are like, oh God, who turned his mic on?
It'll be so much better when we can meet in person.
I was thinking, where's Justin when I need him?
Yeah. Where is he?
I
I
almost did it. I almost muted him. It was so close.
And I'm just kidding, of course.
we are gonna. I can't remember if I sent out the schedule and set it as an exact monthly reminder for our meeting, or if I just sent the one. But we will have a monthly meeting and then just cancel them when we don't need them. Like Nicole said, there's going to be times when we need to discuss things, and then there's going to be other times when we don't. But I will put it on the calendar just so that we have it on our calendars, and we will not meet this late in general, because I'm going to get it on the calendar and beat those other people who were trying to schedule. And I know, Pat, you said you had end of the day. Thanks, Justin. Pat, you have end of the day prep now, correct?
Yes.
And so, but Carla's teaching, so we'll have to see what Carla's end of the day looks like. Gail, you'd be done Gail and Cindy, you guys would be done by 3:30, right? So maybe we would even just start as early as 4 o'clock.
Depending if it's green or white day, I could sometimes start earlier.
Okay. So anyway, I will get that calendar invite out for the rest of the meetings, so that they're at least on your calendar, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to meet in person.
That'd be great.
So thank you guys so much for being here, and have a good evening. Have a good supper.
Good night.